Jason Gilbo here at JGilbo11. With me is Nick Tasso at the Inefficient 2. Look at some GPP bats for tonight's slate. Trying to stay dry for the most part. We got about, 5 or 6 rain games that are looking a little iffy.
Yeah, absolutely. The whole East Coast is kind of a washout, especially in the Northeast. Probably not where you're at down south, but up here it's not fun.
No, it's a little overcast. That's about it here, which is, a cool 80 degrees here in Florida.
Yeah, you'll get rain. It happens every day, right? It's like Seattle.
Yeah, we do get those afternoon showers every day. That's kind of a bummer.
Those are the best. Those
So,
are the best, especially when you're out on the golf course and it just starts to downpour, and then it
yeah,
lightnings, and then you don't know what to do. Been there.
yeah.
It's fun.
And you're just sticking to everything around you because it's 100% humidity.
And then 20 minutes later, it's all fine and you can finish your 18 holes.
Yeah, that's true. So,
We're here
but
for baseball, I think, right?
yeah, GPP. Yeah, no one wants to hear
Baseball?
about
Okay,
it. Yeah,
not golf. Sorry
yeah.
about that.
So, looking at catcher tonight, I mean, not an exciting position. You and I, we both talked about, or before the show, this is the guy that we liked up top. Matt Wieters had the day off yesterday. Hasn't had a great start to 2017. Hasn't had a bad one either. But Coors gives him a bump. Obviously, a good matchup against Marquez as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm not really expecting much out of Marquez, so a lot of these national bats are really in play. Like you said, Wieters really hasn't been good at all, but I think Coors games can really change that for almost any hitter.
Yeah, I think so. And I don't find him to be, crazy outpriced anyway for being a Coors bat.
Yeah, it's probably because he hasn't really done anything, but I think he's priced pretty good, comparatively speaking.
Yep, I do too. As far as other guys go, I mean, Salvador Perez I like as a spinoff away. He has some solid power against right-handed pitching, decent ballpark there. Um, Dylan Covey obviously not off to a great start to the season. I don't mind picking on him actually with a couple of Royals bats for cheap value.
Yeah, I like that too, just because Royals are probably going to be underowned as well. You got the huge core slate, and they haven't really done much this year. So I like that. One of my other guys, though, is Derek Norris, just because he still has been pretty good over his career against lefties. He's like Wieters, who he really hasn't done much this year. But over his career, 349 WOBA against lefties, as well as a 173 ISO. It's not the best, but again, it's Wade Miley. And even though Wade Miley has looked extremely good, there's really no chance that he continues this run.
No, I don't think so either. I like Norris. I mean, he's a guy, I mean, back in the day used to be 20-30% owned against lefties. Now you get him at sub 10%, and a good ballpark there as well. So, I mean, I like that call, especially just because there's a lot of kind of clumped up catchers. Like you have Salvador Perez right there, Jonathan Lucroy. Um, I mean, Austin Hedges hasn't been that bad and gets a lefty there in Chase.
And you have Contreras right around there as well, which people will probably gravitate towards. So I definitely like Norris, but here's Miley, and he should give up a lot of hits tonight.
Yeah, he should. Anyone else? I think Manny Pena was the other guy that we were taking a look at. I mean, off to a great start to the season. I mean, hopefully he's
Yeah,
up in that 5-6 spot from yesterday.
yeah, he's not like great, but he's still pretty cheap. And you look at him, and he's been able to put a lot of games together. I think there's only one game all year where he hasn't gotten a hit. And like you were saying, who is that? Ryan Braun. He might not play today, which might help Pena. So wait and see approach, but good ballpark, bad pitcher.
Yeah, I'm not a
And
believer in Feldman. Pena's a guy who, I mean, 360 Woboff righties to start this season. Yeah, as you mentioned, good ballpark there. Don't have to worry about weather, which is always a plus too. So, I mean, Pena's still on the cheaper side as well.
absolutely.
First base, this is a pay up spot for me. I didn't really have anyone in terms of value. I think this is a spot where I'm looking to just kind of go with the top guys, big prices, and make this a pay up position.
Yeah, I have Votto up there. He's my number one guy. He's just been really consistent this year. Not as consistent as last year, but he's still been able to get you big outputs. He's getting double digit hits. and just doing a lot of things on the base path. I know last year he was very consistent getting walks, and he's still doing that. But I feel like this year he's showing a little bit more power early on, and is a nice pivot really off the Coors guys and even Goldschmidt. Plus Zach Davies is pretty terrible.
Yeah, Votto's a stud. I mean, I don't mind paying up for him as well. You mentioned Goldschmidt. I do like him against the lefty tonight. I mean, 416 well, but going back to last year against Southpaws. In that ballpark, had the day off yesterday. Um, I definitely don't mind him. Eric Thames, I mean, Jesus, this dude just keeps hitting home runs. I mean, two yesterday. I guess I don't care about ownership with this guy some nights because it's just he has that upside.
Yeah, there's hasn't been many nights where he hasn't performed. So I mean, he's really hot, like you said. There's really not else to say in terms of Eric Thames, and it's just is what it is right at this moment. You got to play him.
If you are looking for a pivot off him, I like Will Myers. I mean, this dude's on an absolute tear to start the year. I mean, coming off a home run last night, I still think he goes a little bit overlooked. But you look at Corbin, I mean, did struggle a little bit in chase last year, still gives up the long ball. I mean, and Myers crushing lefties near 200 ISO. I think with Thames being right there in pricing, at least on FanDuel anyway, it might take away some ownership.
Yeah, I totally agree with you there. I actually dug a little bit deeper with Mitch Moreland just because he's been so good. He's leading all of MLB in doubles, leading the Sox in batting average. And even though Severino has looked good, I think his numbers are kind of skewed right now. He's only allowing 201 WOBA to lefties and only a 182 BABIP. So I think that's going to change. Big concern, though, about the weather in Boston.
Yeah, it's definitely one game where we could be looking. I mean, was there anyone else? I mean, in terms of value that you liked, I think I couldn't find anyone that I really could get excited about.
Not really. It's really first base typically is always you've got to pay up for.
Yeah. Looking at second base, obviously I think Daniel Murphy's going to carry a majority of the ownership there in Coors. Um, I think there's some decent pivot options. I mean, um, Brian Dozier's in a good spot. I mean, Andrew Cash, I'm not a believer that he's back.
Yeah, absolutely. That's my number one guy. I'm pivoting off of Danny Murphy just because of that you're going to have a lot of ownership with Danny Murphy, and because Dozier's right there in price, people are going to think, well, I might as well just pay up a little bit more for Murphy. So I definitely like Dozier. Like you said, Cashner really isn't great. Decent ballpark, so I'm kind of all in it with Dozier.
Yep. I know another guy. You and I were basically on the same second baseman here. Cesar Hernandez, really nice price tag. I mean, continuously underpriced on DraftKings. I mean, I don't know what this guy has to do to get his price up, but I'll keep plugging him in. And for some reason, the power's been there.
Yeah, he's been a weird dude this year, but you know what? I'm gonna take it. And I remember when he first came on the scene, he was really underpriced, and then he shot up really high in price. But I feel like he's back down to where you can play him a lot, and he saves you a good amount of salary, and he's gonna put up similar numbers to most guys most nights. So I definitely don't mind Caesar.
Yeah, and he's a safe option too. I mean, he's not one of the boomer bust guys. I mean, he's going to go out there and still get on base one or two times and usually generate a run or two.
Yeah, absolutely. I guess we're gonna talk about weather. Watch out for that there as well, though.
Yeah, doesn't look as bad as I think the other games did, right?
No, I'd have to double check, but I mean, weather changes. The weathermen aren't always right, so definitely keep an eye on it before a game.
Yep. Moving on here, I think another guy I was taking a look at, Ben Zobrist. I mean, coming off a solid game. I mean, all the Cubs bats are. Garrett Cole, he's a guy I think he might look good for 3 innings tonight, and then all of a sudden it just kind of falls off. I think that's what we've seen from him this year. Cole's a guy I'm not loving this stuff right now. I think the Cubs lefties and even righties are in play once again.
Yeah, I agree with you. I really can't trust Cole tonight. Zobrist didn't make my list, but I definitely see why you would play him. He does have a lot of upside. I like Jonathan Scoop. He's been pretty erratic though, so he's definitely only a GPP play, but he does now have 5 home runs. Decent ballpark he's hitting in tonight, and the pitching matchup isn't that great going up against him. So a lot of factors are leaning towards Scoop having a good night. I don't like though that his price is kind of high, but at the same token, it might lower his ownership percentage.
I think one we're gonna take a look at Brandon Drury. If he gets a start there for Arizona, I'm curious to see what their platoon bats look like. On the cheaper side of things, Richard's a guy who's just kind of your average lefty. He's not going to miss a lot of bats. And in that ballpark, I do worry a little bit. So you look at Drury, I mean, 203 ISO against Southpaws going back to last year. If you need some salary relief, I don't think he's a bad option.
Yeah, that's not bad too. Good ballpark, but like you said, Diamondbacks have so many righties to throw up there. It's really not sure who's going to be in the lineup every day outside of about 3 guys.
Yep. Anyone else second base here?
I think we can move on to third. I think I got everyone I got in there.
Third base, and I know you had some interesting guys here up top. We'll start with Eugenio Suarez, who I know you're looking at here first. DraftKings price, I mean, I think it's reasonable. FanDuel 39 is a little bit high for me.
Yeah, I agree with you there. Suarez to me, he's kind of similar to Caesar. He's very consistent lately, but like you said, I think DraftKings he's priced pretty good. He can do some damage. He has a little bit of power. He's been hitting for average, good ballpark, bad pitcher. I think you've been finding a trend with me, looking for good ballparks and bad pitchers.
Yeah, that's what we do.
Yeah, I mean it's smart, but some people don't play that way.
Yeah, I don't mind him as well. Travis Shaw is a guy that I'm looking at from the left side against Feldman. Off to a decent start this year. I didn't mind Shaw up in Boston. I mean, you and I watched him a fair amount. This guy's a decent swing.
Bring that up. Don't bring that up, dude.
You bummed? You bummed we have Sandoval at third? Although for not much longer.
Travis Shaw, he burned me last week too when I played him. So I agree with you. He did a good play, but personal feelings, I can't put him on the list anymore.
Fine. You know, you gotta have a short mind here.
Yeah, I do. I lost a little bit there, so I think I'm just gonna go with Chris Bryant. He's my top play, really. I think he's probably going to be under-owned, and he typically is always overpriced, but I do like him tonight. His price isn't too bad going up against Cole. Like you said, Cole does struggle, can put together a few innings, but then kind of runs into some trouble, and the Cubs are definitely a team that if you run into trouble with one guy, they can kind of pile on you. So I definitely like Bryant here, and my money is that everyone is going to be on Nolan Arenado, so that already you're going to get them pretty low ownership.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think so too. And Brian's a guy who's bound to heat up. We've seen a couple of decent games out of him lately. Another Royal bat I don't mind, and actually Mike Moustakas has been one of the better Royals options. And by option, I mean there hasn't really been a ton. You look at Moose, I mean 355 Wob off right. It's going back to last year, 258 ISO. Dylan Covey's a guy I feel like you can really target. Like you said earlier, I mean, you're going to draw lower ownership just because they haven't been that good.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't mind Moustakas. He hits a good spot in the lineup, lefty. He can do some damage, and like you said, ownership rate's going to be low, so that's all good. He fits all the check marks in the boxes.
Yep. Guy kind of who just popped up on my radar, Evan Longoria. What are your thoughts on him? I mean, the guy who hits lefties fairly well.
Yeah, I don't mind him. I mean, it is going up against Wade Miley, and he struggled, and he's certainly seen a lot of Wade Miley for that 1 year that he was in Boston. So, and now with Baltimore. So I think Longoria definitely is in a good spot.
Yeah, I do too. I mean, decent ballpark there. Hopefully the rain holds off. Anyone else at third base?
Chase Headley. He has been playing extremely well, especially for average too. He's in a good ballpark tonight. Unfortunately, rain might ruin things, but at the same time, if they get this game through, or if there's a delay midway, you're not going to see Porcello for long, and he really hasn't shown that he's really a good pitcher anymore. So I definitely like Headley. Just depends on the weather.
Shortstop, a dreaded position tonight. There is,
It was awful.
yeah, I am not loving this at all. I felt similar to last night where it was like, if you're not paying up for Trey Turner, I know he hasn't been good. You might as well just try and punt the position.
Yeah, definitely. We're supposed to have three names to talk about, but guess what? I only have two because I really don't like shortstop tonight. Trey Turner is the obvious one. I mean, you could go with Story, but I'm kind of would stay away from him, just personal preference. So to me, it's either Trey Turner or drop really low. One other guy that I did like though would be Taylor Motter. He's not the best, but he's okay going up against Zimmerman, who has an almost 6 ERA and gave up 10 hits in his last game out. So I don't mind Motter to get some cheap runs, but he's not as cheap as I'd like. So it just kind of depends if I could fit him in a lineup.
Yep, I think so. Chris Owings might be another guy that I'll take a look at once again. He just kind of falls into that Diamondbacks lineup where we'll see what it comes out, what shapes up, because they do have guys like Drury and Owings that kind of rotate around. Coming off a really strong night last night, still at a value price tag. So I mean, I'm cool with using him.
Yeah, absolutely. I can definitely see that. It's a wait and see approach for lineup wise, but other than that, to me, there isn't really much that I like with shortstops.
Nope, I don't either. I mean, as far as punt options go, I can't even throw out a name right now that I'm really excited about.
Not even one.
No, not even one. I mean,
I can't either. So I think we should move to outfield.
yeah. Outfield, in terms of a pay up option, I mean, I think there are a number of ways that you can go. I mean, Coors is obviously going to draw the higher ownership, but I think you can make some pivots here.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm probably staying away from Coors. Not that I don't like Coors. It's just so highly owned, and when you have a slate that also has Miller Park on it, it has Chase Field. You can get good exposure to those games, and those ballparks aren't as good as Coors, but they're pretty similar.
Yeah, and we saw it play out last night. I mean, what, 17, 18 runs in Miller Park. We saw Diamondbacks, Padres go off for 10 plus runs. So I mean, yeah, and we get a couple more games like that tonight.
Yeah.
Who's you looking at your first guy here?
Oh, already. I got Stanton, Giancarlo. To me, he's been hitting much better for average, which is really good. But he still has 7 home runs, so he's still up there with power. And I think Velasquez, he's been struggling really bad. He hasn't been awful, but I think it's one of those games where Stanton could really take him deep maybe once or twice. Velasquez has given up 4 home runs already in his first 3 starts, so it's something to keep an eye on.
Yep. Coors bat, I'm giving in a little bit here. It's not Harper, it's not Blackman, but Carlos Gonzalez, probably more of a FanDuel play, only 3,500. You look at Joe Ross, has struggled against lefties, 351 wOBA allowed since last year. And Cargo is just going to be a guy who kind of goes slightly under owned, I feel, always, just because he's struggling to start the year. And people just tend to want to just jump up to the bigger bats like Harper and Blackman. So I don't mind Gonzalez just kind of as a cheaper pivot point.
Yeah, no, I like that. I mean, you look at when you compare Gonzalez and Blackman, Blackman has the opportunity for stolen bases, doesn't have as great power. So and he leads off. So some people might gravitate towards that to feel like they're getting almost a sure thing. But for Carlos Gonzalez, he has so much power. And if you ever look at his righty numbers while at Coors Field, they're insane. He just destroys right-handed pitching. Obviously, it doesn't happen every night, but typically when it does, he sometimes goes off in multiple home runs.
Yeah, so I mean, he has that upside. We had a pair of Diamondbacks outfielders that we liked. I'll let you get yours off first here.
Yeah, my guy's AJ Pollock. Kind of for what I just said about Blackman. Pollock's more of a sure thing. He leads off. He has stolen base potential. Doesn't have as great power, but he can hit it out every once in a while. Going up against Richard's not too bad. Also, Pollock hits righties pretty well, so in case Richard were to come out early, I don't think you're missing much Pollock going up against any pitcher.
Nope, I'm a big fan of his. I like his price on DraftKings. I don't mind it on FanDuel as well. Yasmani Tomas, who is the big power bat, has that upside. I mean, 321 ISO against lefties going back to last year. A bit of a boomer bust guy, but this is certainly a guy who has 2 home run potential in that ballpark at a mid-range price where, I mean, he could end up being a top 5 outfielder in terms of scoring coming into the night.
Oh, absolutely. That's definitely good potential right there. So I don't mind him as well. I think Arizona just offers so much as an offense in this game if you're going to pivot off of Coors.
Third bat for you?
Manuel Margot. Not a huge fan of him, so take this with a grain of salt, but he does lead off righty-lefty matchup. His 3 multi-hit games and 3 of his past 4, so I definitely think there's potential here. It's a good ballpark, and who knows, maybe it's one of those matchups where Corbin struggles.
Yeah, I think Corbin's, will run into a little bit of trouble here. I think Margot and Myers are the guys to do it with. I don't mind Adam Duvall. I think another guy with some big time power. Once again, a little bit more robust, but 254 ISO against righties going back to last year in that ballpark. Also a big chance to leave the yard.
Yeah, absolutely. And for Margot, he's not priced too high too. So don't get all excited and think that I'm going crazy. He's kind of priced nice. So believe it.
Yeah, I like Margot,
Can I throw in a loop for you? I had a question for you. Do you know who leads the American League in batting average?
At this very moment?
And I'll tell you it's an outfielder, and I could probably give you like 10 guesses and you wouldn't get it.
In the American League.
Mm-hmm. Cue in the Jeopardy music, please.
Can we narrow it down to division?
Central.
Central outfielder.
He's not even the best hitter on his team. Probably not even in the top 3 of his team.
Central.
Dun, 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 dun.
No, I don't know.
Avisail Garcia.
Oh. I was just looking at him yesterday, too.
I didn't believe that as well, but I mean, he's only 3,200 on DraftKings going up against a lefty. Obviously, Duffy's a good lefty, but you never know. I mean, get a couple hits here or there for 3,200. Not a bad price.
It's not. I mean, he has definitely looked good. I mean, I think we were somewhat intrigued with Tim Anderson, but didn't bring him up as shortstop, too.
No, I mean, Duffy's just really good most games, so it's not really smart money to play the White Sox ever, especially against Duffy. But, I mean, food for thought, really. You got Garcia hitting 360, so is what it is.
Yep. So let's wrap things up here. You got that fun little tidbit, Avisail Garcia. Probably not going to finish there, but good start here at the end of April.
Next pod, I'll have more tidbits if you'd like.
That'd be nice. That's what we're here for.
All right. So. Well, finales will always have tidbits now from me. 16.
That's going to wrap things up here. You can head over to DaveFantasyCafe.com, check out our great tools and content.